and you're eating an animal, that's something they're not as interested in. But I mean, the thing is that like up until 3 years old, like now, he just eats what what he's given. So when he gets older, if he wants to make his own choice, he can make his own choice. But for now, if it's a choice to eat meat too, and people don't understand that. They think it's only a choice to be a vegetarian, but you're making a choice either way. So this is our choice. And I think like what I've tried to do is introduce him to farms and animals, and so he kind of develops a bond for that, and then slowly introduce the vegetarian idea. But it's hard. I mean, he's the only kid in daycare that's vegetarian.
Only one?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's hard. You have a lot up against you in terms of, I think a lot of adults are vegetarian, but I mean, I think, okay, just making sure. I think that it's easier because he's so obviously healthy. He never gets sick. He's never had an aspirin or a Tylenol or antibiotics, and he's 3. He's never had an ear infection. No. I mean, he was breastfed for 18 months, never had formula. So.
What about his vaccines?
He did get vaccines. So, that was a big, hard decision for me.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing this with us. And congratulations on
it's something that I think about a lot.
Caring about your child enough to educate yourself about food.
Yeah. No, it's a huge issue now. I mean, the Monsanto stuff makes me crazy, the whole agribusiness, and that I think people don't realize that some foods are extinct. Like corn, as we know it used to be, is kind of extinct. And
It used to be 200,000 varieties of
and it used to have protein.
Of rice. I'm going over to India to film Vandana Shiva, where she has the last remaining 6,000 varieties of rice. 6,000. The average American knows 2. Well, thank you.
You go down to Mexico, and corn was the staple of Mexico, and at one time it was self-sustaining.
Right.
After NAFTA was passed, there was a line in Laredo, 10 miles long, waiting to come across the border, and now Mexico is dependent on American corn, American agro products.
Haiti was the same way. Haiti used to produce all of its own rice. Then Bill Clinton gets in, and through his NAFTA and World Trade Organization, now they imported rice cheaper than what they could make it, so therefore everybody gave up making rice.
Exactly.
Now look what that led to.
And they're dependent on big agriculture.
Yeah.
So that was Monsanto dominates Mexico.
But they won. Smooth-talking politicians became more important than
it's important for
starvation.
us to keep doing, and your message is a very important message to keep getting out.
Now you're from New York State?
Yes, Catskill, New York.
Oh, good. How long have you been growing your mushrooms?
For 65 years.
Wow. So
it's in my family for that long.
Now, these that you grow, your shiitake, your cap, your oysters, your reminisce, are these the same price or a different price, higher or lower than what they would find in a supermarket?
They're roughly about the same.
Okay. How long does it take to grow a shiitake or a portobello?
Roughly 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks?
Picking, and then you only get a few weeks of picking, and you have to start the cycle all over again.
Are you finding that people are really appreciating what you're doing here?
Yes.
You have regular customers then?
Regular customers.
Oh, great. Would you recommend people looking to do sustainable homestead projects, looking into doing mushroom growing around the United States? Is it hard?
In their homes, yeah, it's hard. You have to create the right environment. It's all indoors, but it has to be about 68 to 70 degrees, very moist environment.
Good.
And plus this sterilization process. We use steam boilers to steam sterilize it. There's no chemicals that way. Just high temperatures.
These are not grown on manure then?
These are grown on oak hardwood. These are grown on straw and a hardwood too. They can grow on both. These are grown on compost.
What about the portobello?
Same thing, compost.
Compost? Well, this is great. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing this. Do you think most people are aware of what happens when we have colony collapse and how important the bees are to pollination?
Actually, from what I see at this table, and of course I may get the cross-section of the population that is more aware, a lot of people are. You know that something like 70% of our food is pollinated by bees, and, but like I said, that's from the perspective of selling this product. So the folks that come to the stable already know a bit more about honey than the guys who would buy a cooked one in the store, you know. But they have found that most of the major cause of colony collapse being a pesticide.
You're getting drugs.
So,
like in the
So therefore, if we were doing more organic gardening and less of the pesticide and genetic engineering, then you'd have more healthy bees, and hence
yes,
you wouldn't
it's
have the colony
actually-
collapse.
It's actually a pesticide that they put on the seeds, and it systemically goes through the plant. And therefore, you can't escape it. You know, once it's on the seed, the plant takes it up. It's in the leaves of the plant, and then pollen and everything. And it only takes a couple parts per million to disorient the bees and get them lost. So,
How many beehives do you all have?
Alan has 500 colonies on 900 square miles up in the Finger Lakes. Fortunately, we're not exposed to that. You know, it's all wildflower honeys. These aren't from cultivated crops.
So these are all wild.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're around the bees all the time.
Well, he is. I'm down here in the city on the weekend selling it.
Are you
He's the
fin-
guy that makes all the magic possible.
Are you? Now, a lot of the honey coming in the United States is coming from China, and it's not really pure honey. This
heard of
says
that.
pure, raw, and unfiltered.
Yeah, that's
this
the
is the
best
way you
way
got
to
to buy
have
it. So
Yeah, it's
people-
like most other foods. The less you do to it, the better it is.
Well, I like that. Well, good. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Anytime.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you have to do in order to be able to grow all that you're growing here? I see you got the vegetables and tubers and sprouts.
Well, right now things are a little bit rough from all the heat, so you have to deal with the Mother Nature. She's the number one priority. She tells you if you're going to have things good or not. Since we have 3 weeks of extreme heat. Bye, guys. This is my wife Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Gary, no. He's asking about what we do.
Well, I'm interested in raising people's consciousness about foods.
This is shallots.
Shallots.
This is what shallots actually are very clean. What they look like when they come out of the field. This is what they look like when we prepare them. So
Now, why wouldn't you use genetically engineered seeds, and why wouldn't you use pesticides like so many other farmers do?
Glad you asked. We've been organic since 1976. My mom and dad started back in 1976. They started here in 1982. They were organic before the certifying agencies or anybody else even came around. And back then, people asked, well, how can you be organic? And the famous answer is, and still is how the Indians do it. And anybody else do it. Common sense, extra work, and you do things and keep it clean. Try to, anyway. You know, if you get weeds, and you just weed them out. We use rope cover, which is kind of like a cheesecloth. It's a very fine mesh that lets air, light, and water in and keeps the bugs out.
And weeds?
No.
No?
No. Weeds grow. Because if the weeds didn't grow, then the plants would grow.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that we won't grow because of it. Like cabbage, we won't grow because not unless it's covered each one specifically because it's labor intensive. Otherwise, you get that butter cabbage one.
Are you able to grow things 12 months a year?
Yeah, we do. We come here year round.
You have a greenhouse then?
Yep. And one part, the biggest part is that people depend on us. There's a lot of people who are chemical sensitive, and when they come here, they know that we don't use nothing. We don't use no chemicals. We use chicken manure. We use limestone. And within the past, not the last 3 years, but every year before that, we used to get bags and bags and bags of leaves, spread them out in the fall, and then let them rot in the winter and the spring, light it on fire. That would give us potash, and then we plow it under for composition. But the other part, sorry about the question that you asked about the GMOs, is because that's suicide.
Do you find that more and more people are aware of the choice between organic and GMOs? Or do you think the average person is clueless?
Clueless.
Clueless?
But the number one reason about what she said, as far as with the organic, our daughter, she's 7, And you don't have to say, oh no, you gotta wash it, or oh no, you gotta peel it. She can just eat whatever she wants. And she never has to worry about
running
it.
around on something that's been sprayed.
Never.
Us personally, we wouldn't want that.
A friend of mine from Pennsylvania called the other day. I said, how you doing? He says, oh, I got a headache. I said, from what? He said, I was spraying for bugs. I said, well, did you wear a mask? He goes, no. I said, well, that's not too smart. I said, you were spraying what? Insecticides. To do what? To kill bugs. So you know what you're doing to your nervous system? And he says, yeah, you're right. 2 days later, he did it again. So he sprayed